I haven't made a video lately, so I thought I would go ahead and make a quick one to show some of the growth that that I've had here since the last video I made. And I think we shall start with the side this time. So here is the one of the little circle beds that I've made by the oak tree. I planted a little there, a little more, and I'm just waiting for things to just kind of to open up and grow. I think this spot is really not the most fertile because there's roots right under there, but I planted, everything's doing pretty well in here so far. I planted a hosta in the middle along with the two mums that were already here, and I added a couple more of the English ivies there, and then I went ahead and added a little wine bottle for looks, and that's about it for this one. I never did point out though that I have a tiny little evergreen growing down here. I'm not sure what kind it is, but I'll be looking for that name when I go to Lowe's so I can compare it to something. It's a slow grower, but because it was about, I don't know, maybe half the size last fall when I noticed it. So let me see. Okay, and one other thing I did over here, because this is a slope, I went ahead and added these pavers here, and it's done the job that I needed it to do. It's catching the runoff from the slope, and so that worked out pretty good. Here's the left circle bed here, and what have I done here? I went ahead and added a hosta, and on the right side there, and then here's a little hosta that has been there, and I moved it back a little because it wasn't growing very well where it was, so I'll see if it has a little bit more growth in this spot. Okay, and this is my side bed. This is the south side of the house, and so this gets a lot of heat. Right now it's under the shade tree here, which is great. But I found this flag there, that iris plant right there, and I found it mixed in with my daisies, so that was fortunate. And I added these three things in the middle. I added the golden unimas in the middle, and on the right and left of it I added a couple of tropical plants. I don't know the names of those, and they're doing pretty good. Looks like it might need to be watered today because some of the leaves don't look as pretty as they did, but we've gotten a lot of rain, and so I thought that was, you know, it was plenty wet, but maybe I need to go ahead and water that because it's not looking super wet over here, super moist. And then I have this coming up, this canna, and it's taking its sweet time, so I don't know if it's too hot or whatever, but it probably definitely needs, this area definitely needs some moisture. Okay, so here's my side garden, and it's really bright on this side right now. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and so this is a good representation of what it's going to be like in the summer. Pretty hot at this time of the day, although we've had really cool weather right as of late. So, but here's just a few more things that I've done. Here is a couple of my containers, and in this one here, I went ahead and just planted all the little marigolds that I keep finding that are popping up, and I just went ahead and put them in a circle, and I thought that I would put them in there and just kind of, you know, as they start to grow, either leave a couple in there so when it's big and pretty, it'll, you know, it'll be full, and then I can move some of the others to the landscape somewhere. And I put one down there, and yeah, because these marigolds get really big on me. towards the end of the summer. They look really good. And in this container, I went ahead and just put a potato vine in there. And of course it had the creeping Jenny, and I went ahead and put another marigold in there. The little tree there is a crepe myrtle that I pulled out of the front because it was not growing well there. So I went ahead and just pulled it, and it's still barely, you know, it's starting to grow more from the bottom, but not a whole lot. So, and that little thing I planted up, I wasn't sure what it was. It looked like maybe a little tree, but I think it might be poison sumac. I'm not even quite sure, but because I was looking up the leaf structure, and there was like 7 leaves, and that might be an indication of poison sumac. So that's going in the garbage. But here's a couple other things I did. I went ahead and I divided my salvia, and I put a piece here. And I'm so glad I did, right next to the onion plant. The onion plant's really there just to give it support because it was kind of leaning over. But the salvia, I'm so glad I did that, because that very same salvia at Lowe's was like $10.98 for the ones that exact size. And I thought, whoa, that's expensive. So I was glad I did that. And over here, this bed, I went ahead and added a border down here. And I pulled that border from another area, but I went ahead and expanded just a little. Well, no, yeah, I think I did expand it just a little bit out, but then I added all my mulch, and this is like 2-3 weeks ago, so it's I still need to do some weed eating again, but of course I gave it a fresh look at the time, and now I need to do some more of that weeding. But that sedum down there is growing well. I see a marigold stuck in the middle growing, so I'll probably pull that. And my can over here is, you know, it's getting tall. There's like 2, 3, 4 of them there, so I might transplant a couple of those. We'll see. And I had to replace my fountain because it died on me. I think it was about maybe 2 years old, and it was just, it's time to go. I also think with all the rain, because we went on a trip and we were gone a few days, and I don't know if it didn't have enough water in there at the time or what. So, but anyway, it died on me. So that's a new one. And there's that new border. I added a few more mondo grasses over here, and this canna popped up out of the pot from last year, which was, I was really surprised. I didn't know it was going to do that. I wasn't sure it was going to do that because it's in a pot, and I wasn't sure, you know, if it would work like that. But let's see what else. Anything new? And that is my original salvia that I pulled out, and I divided it 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 extra plants from it, and it's still really full. So I may divide it again. We'll see. And which I'm glad I did as well, because there were so many bees on this one. I was getting a little worried about the number of bees on it in one spot. So because whenever I would water, they would kind of, they didn't like it. They didn't like to be disturbed, and they started to flutter around a little bit more, which made me nervous. I've never been chased by a bee, but I don't want to learn the hard way. So let's see. Oh, and my lily's not, it hasn't flowered yet. So I'm not quite sure what's taking it so long. Maybe it needs heat, which we haven't had too much of lately, which is good because I don't really care for all that heat, but it makes the flowers really happy. Or if I just need to trim it again. But in this little pot, I've got a dianthus growing out. I guess I transplanted that last year. And then the canna in the back is growing really nice here. This is the biggest one I have so far. So it must be in a really good spot. That's just a really good spot. So, and I got a little bit of a, oh, I never showed you this side. I don't know if I did or not. This is just the side over here. This is the north side of the house, and I have a little bed full of this mondo grass, and I tried to make a little bit of a pattern here with this. So, but anyway, it's a nice little fresh area. Over here is some things I planted, some vegetables and stuff that are growing and that I really need to transplant very soon, but I don't have my beds ready. And my husband was gonna finish building my my little bed thing, but it just hasn't happened. We've been really busy. So I don't know what and up here, this right here I think is a redbud thing I found. This one and this one, I'm pretty sure they're little redbud saplings. So I'm gonna see what they do. I went ahead and pulled them from the ground and put them in these containers. And if they are little redbud trees, I'm gonna be just, you know, and I'll be really appreciating that. And my containers, the potato vine is starting to really take off. And you know, I didn't know how this was gonna go because I've never planted these two together, but the plant underneath, the dru-see-nuh, is kind of getting smothered a little bit by the not grapevine, but the potato vine. And so I'm not sure if I'm gonna leave it like that because it's kind of interfering with the dru-see-nuh. So I'm not sure, we'll have to see. I think I will, if it looks like it's really hindering it, I might change it. But I would definitely leave the potato vine in there because those are great. Same thing here. This one's looking really good though. Everything about this one's kind of in the shade. This one is, so it's kind of got, I don't know, the best of both worlds. It's got heat, but a little shade. So, I mean, the leaves of this potato vine are really fat compared to the others. And this behind it is, they look good together. So I may just leave them like it is because I know that potato vine's gonna just start, you know, coming down this way, and we'll just see how it goes. All right, and this one is my third one, and look at this. This potato vine is really going, but this poor dru-see-nuh back here is getting somewhat smothered. So I don't know, I just don't like that, pushing that away like that. So we'll see. All right, nothing else on the deck, I don't think. My third hosta finally came up on the right there. It's the smaller of the three hostas. It's the last one to come up, and it is the smaller, so I don't know if it's the spot or what. This one in the middle is the prettiest, I think. Although the one on the left is really nice too, but this one in the middle is, the structure of it's really kind of perfect. So I'm really liking that. And let's see, so as far as changes go, I changed this a little bit because I had the all the little plants in there, but they all turned yellow. And so I went ahead and got these, I think they're arborvitae. Yeah, they're arborvitae. And they were only $10 each, which for me, that was perfect. So I went ahead and put 3 in there where the other ones were. And hopefully they'll do well for me. I'm just gonna make sure I keep them moist and all that good stuff. I do need to water it today, by the way. Today's kind of a warmer day. It feels like it's about 85, 90 degrees. And here's that other salvia I put over here, and the leaves are drooping a little bit. So yes, definitely I need to water over here. And under this, I have more potato vine, which, you know, that's definitely growing. I have one there and I have one there, but I had to cover them because I think it's the squirrels. The squirrels like to nibble on them. I guess they're pretty tasty. So I've had to cover those, and once they get a little bit bigger, I'll go ahead and take those off, because I don't mind the squirrels nibbling, but I don't want them to, because the one on the right side, they almost ate it all up. Okay, this is the north side again. I'm outside the gate. I've got that pretty hosta that's the one that got real big for me real early, but something's nibbling at it, and I think at first I was thinking it was a squirrel, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe a slug. I'm not quite sure, because if it was a squirrel or birds or whatever I might think it might be, or rabbit, they would have that thing would have been gone. It would have been eaten up already. So I'm gonna assume it's critters like a slug or I don't know, maybe what else, I don't know what else it could be, but some kind of little critter like that. And here in the front, my trio of bushes here were the nandina is kind of overgrown, and I'm thinking I'm gonna let it just get real fluffy. I'm not quite sure. I like to trim it from the bottom and like have that all plain, but I've kind of noticed that some others have trimmed the bottom, you know, they kind of let the whole thing grow fluffy. I don't know. I kind of like the look where it looks clean at the bottom. So I'll see what it looks like after it gets a little more full. But I did finally put something in this planter. Since my last video, I wanted to put in some Super Tunia Vista bubble gums or whatever they're called, but I could not. I never saw any, and I finally did see a couple of Super Tunias up there at Lowe's, but they weren't the ones I wanted, and I wasn't sure about them. So I just went ahead and put in a potato vine here, and of course that's doing well. And then the flowers that are in there, they're not doing great in another spot. They're doing really good over here. This is shaded most of the day, and then it doesn't get sun until about 1, 2. Like right now, the sun's on this side of the house. So, but the marigolds, this is the best place I've seen my marigolds. The ones that I bought already growing, and there's some dianthus in there, and they're doing well in there too. They usually, I'm pretty sure they're going to get bigger for the summer, but this is a pretty little area too. And my planter in the front, it looks pretty good. It's got the potato vine again with the dracena, and it's got a few dianthus in there, and I think there's one there growing, and I think I put a marigold in there. But see, the marigolds here, they're not growing at all. They're still really small. They're not open. So I don't know if there's too much heat or if it's too dry or what. But anyway, that's doing okay. I think it looks, you know, for a little centerpiece in the front, it looks okay. And so I've changed this quite a bit since the last time I made a video. Before I just had in the remnants of my daffodils and this here, which it's, you know, it's escaping me with that creeping phlox. But since I last made the video, I added the yarrow there, the yellow yarrow, and that's one of the salvias I divided from my other salvia. And there's of course another dianthus in there, and that looks pretty good. And of course I think I did the border and I added the mulch in there, so that looks much better than it did before. And I did the same over here. I did the same thing over here, so it definitely looks better. And this is where I had my crepe myrtle, my small one that's been trying to grow. Pulled it out because it's not doing anything. And this is a tree that I took from my mother's yard out in the country in Carnegie, and it's just an elm, I think. And so I have it in the pot trying to grow some roots before I transplant it. And so, you know, it went through its little dying phase and it's coming back now. So this looks pretty good. So a lot of new growth here, and there's some growth down here on the tree, the stem. And so as soon as I think it's got some roots in there, then I'll go ahead and plant it in front. Or I may just put it in another planter and let it stay in there, because I'm not quite sure if I want an elm here, but I definitely need a tree here in the front. And these are my boxwoods, and I went ahead and finally trimmed those up. And my rose bush, and you know, most of the blooms are done. And I went ahead and just took a clippers to it and shaved them all. I was in a mood to just trim something really heavily, and so I just went to town on these. And I know the rose bush, it'll flush back out, but I need to deadhead it for sure. Look at these poor things. I need to deadhead that. I guess I didn't even think about doing that till right now. So yeah, I'll be deadheading that, and then these blooms will come back nice and pretty. I guess I can get my scissors and deadhead them, or I could just do it this way. So I'll probably get my scissors or my clippers and do that. Well, that is all I have to show you for today. Thank you for joining me, and happy gardening.